experiences here. Thank you for recording, Ignacio. I have my note to do that as well.
Mhm.
But I've worked I've owned my own business. So I've been an entrepreneur. I have worked in nonprofits, but most recently I've been with Dell Technologies. So I was in project management, as well as some HR functions, DE&I functions here for the last 3 years. So I've done, quite a lot here in this space, but I really kind of love and excel in kind of the project management space. And yeah, looking forward to helping you out here where I can, and definitely have some ideas, some directions and things where we can go here. So.
Okay.
And I sit in Nashville. Ashish, I think I saw on your resume here. Were you in Memphis for a while as well?
Yep. I was there until 2023. So I used to come down to Nashville.
Yeah.
For
So
Saturday brunches or whatever once in a while.
That's exactly it. If you're in Nashville, you don't really go to Memphis very often, but if you're in Memphis, you come this way a lot more often. So
I used to do 1-day trips, a reasonable number of times. So yeah, and I have one of my very close friend who stays there in Nashville as well.
Oh, nice.
She was put up in the Brentwood area or something like that.
That's where I'm right now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I've been there in that area, but she moved to another place. I don't know what that one is, but yeah, she was in the Brentwood area.
Nice. And so she's working here now?
Yeah, she's living there with her fiance. I don't know where his house is, basically. That's why I don't know where she's now, but yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
Awesome. So I think Ashish had some updates for us. It could potentially help us adjust our approach as well. So Ashish, just the floor is yours if you want to just sort of elaborate on the situations with these two jobs.
Yeah, actually the three. So
three,
yeah. So Dan, I don't know if you're aware, I had an interview with Plaid as well. That other than Vercel and Hertz. So Vercel and Hertz are coming up on Monday and Tuesday respectively. Plaid, I had the first recruiter call on Thursday. It went pretty well. The recruiter told me during the meeting itself that she's going to move me forward and have the next with the hiring manager. Yeah. And Ignacio, as it turns out, she's the same person who had reached out to me a couple of months back.
Thank God.
So I did mention that a little bit. So it went well, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I can start off by giving a little bit of background around that role that she told me about, and then we can go from there.
Let's do it.
Yeah, if we could do it, and she's just so as I'm taking notes here as well. So we're pretty kind of early in process here, either first or second round for each one of these three opportunities. Is that correct?
Yes, Plaid is the one that is in the front with the recruiter call that has already gone by, and then everything else is it was back-to-back days, Thursday and then the coming Monday and Tuesday. So
yeah, it's a full-time job interviewing, isn't
it? Yeah, I'm trying to get more interviews lined up as well, just in case these companies don't work out, or you never know with offers, right? So wanting to have a couple more interviews set up. At that point, I'll just focus on interviews. But yeah, anyway, so I can get into the details of Plaid a little bit, what I heard from the recruiter. So Dan, for this thing, so basically they hired the head of pricing and packaging. Her name is Maggie. She comes from DocuSign, and she had reached out to me in April 2022 when she was at DocuSign to hire me from FedEx. But unfortunately, because of visa situation, they were not sponsoring for that particular department, and I was not able to even interview. So we did not go past that conversation on LinkedIn. But now we are here. So she has joined as the head of pricing and packaging at Plaid now, after spending about 5 years at DocuSign. She is the hiring manager, and she is the only person in this team right now. So this is going to be the founding team member of that pricing and packaging team at Plaid. So the role is going to be pretty diverse in what I understand. Some notes that I have here. So her 3-month plan basically is looking at rather familiarizing myself with a product portfolio and coming up with some immediate opportunities in terms of pricing, packaging, revenue generation, optimizing for profitability, anything and everything I can do basically in that time period. Then at the 6-month mark, they're looking at more so me taking active ownership of pricing and packaging, broadly speaking, with all the cross-functional teams and so on and so forth. At the 12-month mark, I need to have like a well-established area on PNP, and then being the key owner or SME in the space. And it's going to be a little open-ended also. The sense that I got is the team is going to continue to grow a little bit after that, like after I get hired. So I'll have a little bit of say in terms of how the vision of that team is going to be set up and those kind of things. So I can basically actively participate in that too. So it's going to be a little open-ended. They said they're flexible around those things. So that is what they have told me in terms of the context of the role for the next 1 year. Okay.
Can I before we keep going here, I want to just kind of follow up on that here on that timeline, I guess. In terms of how you work and how you operate, is that 3, 6, 9 month or 3, 6, 12 month timeline and kind of actionables? Is that something you're comfortable with?
I think that timeline is a little broadly put out. I think those things can happen earlier also.
Okay. I know sometimes,
career, so yeah, just coming from that perspective.
Yeah, exactly right. And for some, my wife's sitting upstairs right now. Hopefully she doesn't hear me, but for her, I think that a timeline like that, in terms of like full ownership here in 12 months, it's aggressive, right? But for some, obviously, it's fine. It doesn't give them worries and things. So I just like to stop and ask that question.
I mean, that's understandable. Yeah, I don't think Ignacio has that kind of a reaction now because he has had a reasonable number of conversations with me. Yeah. Okay. The other thing that they told me from a short-term perspective around responsibilities, they would like to hold quarterly pricing reviews with the senior leadership team and any improvement opportunities in revenue or whatever that can come by. So that's more of a short-term scope in the role. I would again pivot it back to the 3-month to 6-month time period. And then in the long run, they are looking at operationalizing pricing team broadly speaking, because right now there is deal desk, there is go-to-market product and those kind of functions, but pricing and packaging in itself does not exist. So they're trying to come up with that function and make sure it functions well across the board. And then they are the whole soul owners of pricing and things like that. So still a little open-ended, but that is what I understood. Okay. As so from the interview process perspective, so since Maggie, the hiring manager, is the only person in the team right now, I will be meeting her a couple times. Okay. There is going to be actually 2 interviews with her. One is going to be a 45-minute call, which is going to be with, looking at my background and some star behavioral questions in terms of fit, values, how do I work with cross-functional teams, my leadership style, those kind of things. Okay. Then there is going to be about a 30-minute interview, which is going to be more technical, which is essentially looking at pricing trade-offs and those kind of things, so that she has like a good sense of the fact that I have a good sense of pricing principles and how things function and those kind of things. I would assume that. Then the third and the final thing is going to be a take-home exercise, which I would assume is going to be a case that they would provide me with.
Yep.
And I'll have to basically come up with the entire recommendation or something around that. And then I present that to Maggie, who's the head of pricing and packaging, and then also to another person who's the head of business operations at Plaid. and that would be the final round. So basically, 3-round process is what they've told me. Uh,
Nice.
should be getting the first round set up in the 3-step process.
Yeah. So it looks like
Mhm.
you said more so background, contextual stuff, values, how you work with cross-functional teams, right? So that's definitely something we can help you with. I mean, even with the technicals, if you for that take-home exercise, believe it or not, we do help clients if they need someone on the side
Mhm.
to provide some additional help. I know it's a bit
Another set of eyes.
yeah
Mhm. Okay.
yeah. I mean
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean
I would at least want to run the presentations before I send those out, and
yeah.
what can I expect in those. So I basically want to go full throttle into this. Okay. So after the interview was done on Thursday, Friday morning, I dropped a note to the recruiters.
hmm
I can tell you what it included. It was like a pretty substantial an email that I wrote. It was basically like a thank you note. Uh, but we had discussed how my experiences like sit very well with what Plaid is going to do, and the most important job responsibility in that role was to come up with bundles of pricing for the at the company level, okay, for it to be more cohesive.
hmm
So you may remember, Ignacio, from my resume, the alliances strategy or indirect and hybrid
Yeah.
was aligned exactly with what Plaid is going to do, or
Wow.
rather, they already are into that business. So
That's
I spent about 15 minutes explaining those things with like good examples to her. So that was one thing. So I kind of highlighted that piece in my email to her. Then
perfect.
a follow-up of that basically is a graduation strategy for customers to move between different types of sales segments or channels. So we did not discuss that, but I highlighted that in the email that, hey, this could be a potential next step in looking into the future. So I was basically trying to portray myself as somebody who understands their game, where they're going to head next immediately, and things of that nature.
Yeah. And your
Then
future framing, which is excellent.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so I basically did that in one paragraph. Then the next paragraph I took to address the other, I would say, secondary responsibilities in the job description. And then I have extensive experience in those, like things like revenue acceleration, operational excellence, and those kind of things. So I
hmm
mentioned that I have transferable skill sets around that. So I sent that. Then the third thing that I added in there was, as we further look out into the future, which is when we are few quarters out, the team is also growing and those kind of things. At that point, what will this team do? So there were some top of mind ideas that I had, which I can kind of translate from my past experiences. So I jotted down 4 of those, uh, more so around product management for pricing tools, internally for internal tool development, uh, setting up guardrails on pricing and packaging with leadership approval paths, and running promotional pricing for certain customer segments. There was one more that I wrote. Yeah, I mean there was one more. I can't remember right now, but there was one more. And then you may remember I had given you an introduction deck as well in terms of the documents that I provided. So I just
Yeah.
highlighted that hey, I'm adding in my introduction deck for the team to review, which gives in more context around my background and experiences, which translate directly into this role. And then I just ended it with like a thank you and looking forward to connecting with the hiring manager and things like that. So that I've already done. What I want to do is I want to continue giving them this flavor that if I were in the company already, this is how
hmm
I will be successful. This is what I will bring to the table, more so than just cracking the interviews. So I
Yeah.
basically want to also send out, let's say, another presentation, uh, which basically highlights my 30, 60, 90-day plan as one of the potential things. If I were to be already in the company based on my experiences and understanding of how their business runs, I want to have
hmm
a couple of things there, like what will I bring to the table? What will I want to do? What will my key pillars be in order for me to define the vision for that team. So things like that I'm going to do. I'll, we'll have those connections and, look at the content. So I'm going to keep those relatively short, maybe 3 to 5 slides only. But
Okay.
I want to do it in their companies, corporate templates, those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to help you with that as well. So Louise, actually, on our team, she's quite well versed with Power BI as well as PowerPoint. So if you need any visuals, any data to be put together, would love to connect you with her. She's currently working in capital markets, so she deals with decks every day. If you want her to sort of sharpen your professional branding there, as well as just sort of help you put some of the data together for you, right? We can.
What's her LinkedIn profile, or what's her full name?
I will send it to you. I'll put it in chat, or I'll just put it in an email, and then you can connect with her right after this. But we can always put a session together, like a brainstorm session, just to make sure that we're on point in terms of what you want to be presented.
Yeah. So, okay. I basically intend to do something like this for even Hertz. Okay.
Yep.
I'm not so sure about doing the same thing for Vercel at this point, because I want to understand the role a little bit better with the hiring team, because the job description is not very detailed. It's pretty broadly written there.
Understood.
Yeah. So yeah, that is that.
Ashish, have you thought about how you're going to tackle kind of narrowing down, if you have a broad job description, right? You can be interested in the company, interested in broadly the role, right? But sometimes their vision of what that role is going to look like is different from what you had in mind. Have you started brainstorming questions and things like that in terms of how you're going to identify what that role really specifically is?
Yeah, so that is why I basically asked Ignacio this morning to kind of push the behavioral question or the mock interview forward to tomorrow. So the way I approach this is basically I look at the job description, I jot down each and everything that they have written down on their web link into my notebook here. Okay. So as an example, this is what the whole
Nice.
description is. Okay.
You're a handwriting guy like myself.
Yeah.
I love it. That's good.
Yeah. So I do that. That gives me a sense of all the things that they're looking for from the role. Then I would highlight or underline stuff that, okay, these are the key things and how those kind of resonate back with my work experiences and what they might be looking for. What that has come to is this, like, top priorities, okay, of the 2-pager. So I know what they're looking for now, pretty much in detail.
Perfect.
And then I try to connect it back with my past experiences. I have to do some company research as well, like reading their 10K reports, understanding what their forward-looking statements are, those kind of things. So that's how I approach it. And based on the basis of that, I come up with questions also. Then depending on the person I'm interviewing with, I would ask them that kind of question. So with Hertz, it's the senior director and the VP of revenue management. And the role is, I would say, pretty broad. And it would, I can be like open here. So in my experience, that role is going to be, it's going to come with reasonable amount of politics and a lot of pushback from the people who are already in those, in Hertz, who are at those levels or whatever for like years, and you're trying to do something transformative. I know from the person who has referred me that this is a new role. It's not a backfill, and they're trying to expand the team. Based on my understanding of the job description, this is what I gauge so far. Okay.
Yeah.
So I will need a little bit of help in crafting a couple of questions also, because I want to make sure it's the right fit for me. So one of the things that comes to mind is I would love to do this kind of transformational work, but I need a reasonable amount of autonomy from my senior leadership team as well
Mhm.
in order to drive such projects, right? So how to best frame these questions? You cannot be this blunt about it. You have to be a little diplomatic when you're putting those questions out.
Yep.
So I'll do my best, but I would run those with you that this is the right approach of giving those questions. Again, that is one thing about Hertz. The other thing is, because I understand this much, I'm going to do my 30, 60, 90-day plan. I'm going to come up with some ideas of my own based on my experiences or whatever, to give them a little bit of a thing that if Ashish were to come into this role as a director of strategic optimization,
Yep.
this is how we can envision him being in the role for the next 1 year, and this is how he's going to start working with us. So
Yeah.
I want to, so my interview with Hertz is on Tuesday afternoon. I would like to send that deck out to them on Monday evening EOD, so that the next day
Mm.
morning when they see their inbox, they know that this deck is there. They know that they are going to talk to me in the afternoon. So when they're coming into the meeting, psychologically, they are already in that zone that we want this guy.
Yeah.
Ignacio, yeah, let me ask. This is actually directed more for Ignacio here than yourself, Ashish. But when I think about get that 30, 60, 90-day plan, and I love that concept and that idea and what kind of the direction that you're headed here with it. For me, it's more of a when should this be sent type of thing. I know you said you like to send it ahead of time.
I mean, we can certainly discuss the timing of it, but this is how I was thinking about it.
Yeah, no, and that's great. I mean, that's again, that's why we're here. We have us as a sounding board here. I know if it's me and I'm in the same situation as you, I'm gonna take kind of some of those bits and pieces that I learned from the Tuesday morning conversation, and I'm gonna incorporate those directly into that 30, 60, 90-day plan. So that in your follow-up to Maggie in this case, because you follow
it would be Hertz, but yeah, not Maggie. Maggie is from Plaid.
For Verso.
Yeah.
Yeah, but whomever the case might be, right? So
that's the way I was thinking about drafting that is like, for example, when I dropped that note to Plaid as well after the recruiter call, the last element where I said looking further out into the future as the team continues to grow in the next few quarters, here are some of the things that are top of mind. So I specifically mentioned that as an outsider's perspective, these are some things that might be of potential value, because I don't know where they are actually headed. I'm like 80% sure that these are things that they would do. Okay. But I just want to make sure that I'm not putting myself under the bus there, because I don't have enough context. So having said that, I'm going to basically, if I were to send it out on Monday end of day, rather than wait until the interview on Tuesday, I would call it out that as an outsider's perspective, based on my understanding, this is how I would put it. Obviously, we may change this based on the vision that my leaders have and those kind of things.
Yep.
There are two things that I'm trying to accomplish with this. One, psychologically, when they come into the interview, they would have seen it. I'm guessing no other candidate would have sent it out to that level of detail. Okay. The second thing is, if we drive a conversation about that, even for 5 minutes, I'm going to mention it to them that, hey, I would love to discuss this with you and see where we can adjust this, or where I was not aligned with what you guys are thinking about this role.
Yep, to spark conversation.
Then I can send out a revised version if there is a need,
Yeah. No, I think this is one of the best approaches, and I agree with what you said. Especially if you're trying to show initiative, right? If you're not someone, if you're someone that's pushing for autonomy, this is the sort of power move that you'd need to make to sort of show that, right? And by doing so, you're not only offering an outsider's perspective, you're saying that, based on the context that you're going to provide in today's discussion, I'd love to make adjustments here for you that are more relevant or suitable for your needs.
Yes. So that basically, I would assume, puts me way ahead of other candidates.
100%.
Yes. So
I would agree.
Yeah, it makes you stand out. Exactly. No. That's exactly it. It makes you stand out. I just want to make sure that you're thinking of too, having the ability or the context, if you will, to say, okay, this is what I sent them on Monday. Based on our conversation on Tuesday, here's a couple things that might have changed or maybe don't align perfectly here. Knowing full well that you can go back
and adjust that, and I don't think that will be a matter of concern, because anyway, Dan, like if I were to actually join them, I have to do that on a daily basis, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to give them a sneak peek before I actually get into, for them to have more confidence in me. That's all I'm trying to do there.
I like it.
Yep. I agree with that.
Okay, so I would like to do that with all of the companies. Okay, not Vercel at this point. We'll see about Vercel on Monday, how that goes.
Okay. Would you be comfortable recording your interviews?
I don't think I can, because they send out the invite. So, and I don't know if they would be comfortable with recording.
Okay. Usually we have this on the side just for training purposes, but have you ever heard of OBS?
No, what is that?
It just records a screen on your laptop if it is like a virtual interview. Completely up to you if you want to or not, but it allows us to review your delivery, your tonality, your nonverbal, as well as the actual content that you talk about during the interview, so that we can help you with seeing.
Yeah, but I would not want to do that without their permission, because then becomes a
Okay, understand. Just was curious, but we can just go off of what you want to reveal in terms of us giving you feedback.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be pretty open. Like after my interviews are done, I take down notes and all those things, like how it went and everything. Like for example, the Plaid interview, we were laughing, we were chit-chatting. It was pretty relaxed, a conversation. So I know it went well. So,
okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Now, the other things that were on my mind, a few things. One, I wanted to discuss with you guys the positioning of my camera. Is this background looking okay? I can adjust this a little bit and see if you want.
Usually, the best format is to have it positioned slightly above you, so that it's not looking from down to up.
Okay.
It's a more flattering angle for you, and then being stationed in the middle of your screen, because right now we see that you're slightly shifted to one side.
That's because of my chair.
Okay.
And I have this habit of not being stationary. I can't control that.
Yeah.
1 second. Let me try to put it on the. But is this background looking okay?
Background looks great. Yeah. Yep. Do you have any plants or paintings by chance? Just if you have it handy.
I have books, if that helps.
That helps.
Okay, so let me move this here then. I think some of the books might. Yeah, you see those books there on that corner here?
No, I think the other angle is better. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I can try to move it.
No, where you were is I think is fine in terms of where you were. It's not distracting at all, right? Which is what you want. It's a little bit plain, maybe, I think is what Ignacio was kind of referencing here, right? If there was a bookshelf, right behind you, or a painting or something just simple behind you there, I think that kind of breaks up that. But you do have the pillar, you do have the kind of structure of the three-dimensional. It's not just a flat white wall.
Yeah.
So I think you're fine from that
I mean,
perspective.
I have my
but
like if I do this, this is my projector. If that helps, that is what I have behind me here.
No, this is good.
Yeah.
Could you bring the camera like lower in terms of angle? Yeah.
This.
Yeah. Usually like we see more of the bust as well during the interviews, and so we minimize the space between the top and the head. Like here it should be a little bit less, like how Dan and I have it at the moment, but
Yeah, but is this looking good?
This is looking good. Yeah.
Okay, I can put something here on this side if you want for.
Yeah. Yeah, that would look great. Like some books or anything.
Books either there or else even if you slide your projector over and you kind of make that a makeshift bookshelf there, just so it looks like you have right there.
Here,
stacking up 5-6 books on that side. Well, again, just give a little bit of color.
I think so. That is actually sitting on a stand, and it'll be a little challenging for me to keep on moving it. I can actually move like some of the books here. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah.
And I have more books. I mean, I can add those.
Ooh, that looks good.
I mean, I have more. So.
Yeah.
Is this the best?
Yeah. Looks great. And then.
Or should I?
Yeah. You can't see him right now.
It's out of frame.
The other bit better?
It's out of frame.
I just pinned it. I don't know if I just pinned it for myself here.
I can actually move this a little bit more.
But even what I'm seeing here on my end, even just with that right there, again, is a little bit of color, a little bit of breaks up kind of some of the whiteness of that wall behind you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just trying to move some stuff here. Is this better?
Oh yeah, I like that.
I think it's much better.
Much better. Should I do natural light or? I mean, I can.
Nope. Natural light is tricky because you don't know what the weather's going to be like that day. Your lighting and things, I think, was great.
Okay, one more. So I have yellow lights on this side that basically are looking at me here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this lighting good?
Yeah, it's warm versus a bit more like sunlight, colder light.
Yellow lights.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I also recommend if you don't have one of these already, pick up a ring light. It doesn't have to be this large here. Comes a little tripod, a little USB plug-in, right? But it helps a lot. In terms of your lighting and things like that, you're not relying on whatever is going on outside.
I can basically use this and move this here. This lamp.
But what I'm seeing here is that light right there is, unless you move that light behind your computer monitors here, so it's facing your face.
I can move that lamp from this side to here, and then the light is coming on me. I can do that.
Yep.
Or I can keep it more aesthetic here, but I don't know if it's visible that it's on. I don't know.
It is.
It is aesthetic. If you could move the light source not pointing towards the camera, but pointing towards the book, that way it creates less glare for the
Does that top tip down anymore?
Does it tip down a little bit? Oh yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
Because we're not seeing a glare none
Yeah.
from the light.
Okay, cool. That is good. I have more books. I can just stack those up here. But is this stacking good, or should I do it something like this? Where
I think you should make a statement with your favorite book in the front. Like we saw Built to Last. Was that the business book, right?
I have to read. I got it yesterday. I I have the other one from Jim Collins, the one that I'm reading right now. It's known as Good to Great.
Yeah.
So Built to Last came before Good to Great came in.
Yeah.
I want to actually talk about those as well during my interview.
You
Like
should.
some things around those books, what
Yeah.
value we should be driving at
Yeah.
like a company strategy level or something.
Yeah.
So
I will say, as a person who uses almost exclusively virtual backgrounds here,
okay.
I get questions a lot whenever I use like a library background or like a bookshelf, whatever. If I'm talking to somebody, they're asking me about a book that's on my virtual bookshelf. So make sure, to Ignacio's point, right? Whatever it is that is right there in front, be prepared to answer questions about it and be ready to talk about it.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that's a
I
great
actually
place to
want to
work.
talk about it.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
thing, because this is a leadership position, right?
Yeah.
And all the companies that I'm like talking to, at least at this point, are either trying to grow or they're trying to, be transformative or whatever in their own ways. There are insights from both these books, like Built to Last and Good to Great, that are good discussion points. So I would certainly want to bring those.
You should
Exactly.
definitely turn it towards the camera then.
Okay.
Yeah.
The old way, putting it.
Yep.
Yep.
And put, even a cup or something behind it there so they all don't topple over. But something behind all those books now to keep them upright as you see them right there.
Like something behind them. Yeah, I can.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have something I can adjust.
Just something heavy that's not gonna
Yeah,
like that.
I'll make sure
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Or I can move these a little bit here so that even if it's falling here.
Yep.
Mhm.
And Ashish, let me just
Oh.
show you live what a big difference a ring light makes. So you see right now, there's a lot of shadow on my face. One second, I'm going to turn on my light. Oh, I gotta wait for the camera to focus. But now you see there's illumination on the light. So even if there's harsh sunlight coming from behind me, now with the ring light facing towards me, you can actually see there's no shadows left on my face.
Ignacio, do you want to close your shades behind you there too and show them what that looks like? Can you do that?
Yeah, one sec. You mean close all the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it's you can see now with the ring light, where that light's actually facing him there. And then can you turn that off now? The ring light.
Oh yeah.
Still with it shut. Sometimes, your background can wash out whatever's around. You see that difference there?
Yeah, so this is without the ring light.
Right.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference. They're pretty inexpensive to pick up. They're on a tripod.
Are they available on like Target or something?
Amazon.
Target.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll see where I can get it from. I don't think it's that big a deal for me because I have space here. I can put it here and then should be good.
Yeah. And there's different ones, different versions. I've got one that my camera can actually sit here. So if I want to, I can hook it up. So my light, what's facing me, whatever else, I know that light is hitting me dead on. There's a lot of ways to play around with it, but
okay, cool.
I'm certainly not an influencer in any way, shape, or form. But when you notice lighting and things like that, you should not notice lighting, but it should be brightly lit, and it makes a big difference.
Cool. I think that is good. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the way I'm sitting right now from a body language perspective. Is this angle fine when I'm talking, or should I, I have a habit of leaning back on my chair? I should not, right?
No, forward how you are is great. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You're engaged. Yeah, exactly. It looks like you're leaning in. You're actively kind of being a part of the conversation.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm the same way.
Fine.
I'm listening, but I'm sorry.
I was saying if I were to take notes here on the side, all those things are also fine, right? Like it's not deviating from my body language in any way, correct?
Not at all. And again, one of those things that you don't know who you're talking to, right, at any given time. I love pen and paper people. They're my people, so I'll just make it. I'll again, as part of that initial kind of banter, I'll let them know, hey, I'm not, not paying attention here. I'm just writing down notes.
You
Yeah.
can even
And it
show
just
them
tells you right off the bat.
the notebook, like just show them it's pen and paper, that you're actually taking notes.
Yeah, I can do that. And in my experience, these exec people are basically from that older generation. All of them are pen and paper people, like
Yeah.
mostly. I've seen them carry notebooks with themselves. So for the most part,
Perfect.
in my experiences so far. Okay,
Perfect.
so I think that is good. The
If-
other thing I wanted to talk about, particularly when I'm going into video conversations with execs, I'm planning to have this kind of an attire,
Mhm.
maybe a shirt inside or a round neck t-shirt, but this is how I'm planning to be. Maybe wear a watch as well, which I'm not right now, but just
Yeah.
in case my hand gestures come up and the watch also shows up. So those are very small aesthetic things that I'm, literally talking about. But are those fine, or would you want me to add something to it as well?
I think collared, to be honest, the way you are right now, probably not a t-shirt like mine. So this is a round neck collar, right? I think it's a little bit too informal for an interview setting. Do you happen to know a little bit about the corporate culture there? Because I know I was hiring for Brookfield, right? They have full dress every day, and you actually get infractions if you don't come up, properly with full dress. You get taken to HR, stuff like that. So I know some companies take it very seriously. But
Yeah.
with Versal and the other one, what is your impression? Like, are they very corporate, or do you feel like they have a bit of looseness to their culture?
I think Hertz would be a little towards like a shirt
Yeah.
side. Plaid and Vercel, because they're startups, I don't think they would care this much. There are other things that those companies have to care about at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hertz, I will say, I have a couple of friends here who've been with Hertz, and that what you're wearing right now, I think is totally fine
Okay.
for that. I think, just be comfortable in whatever you're wearing. You want to wear a tie, great. For me, ties are.
I'm not
are
planning to
choking.
do a tie, but yeah, that I think goes a little too much for a virtual interview.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so what you're wearing right there, exactly, with the jacket and the open shirt, I think is great.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry to be on a different topic now. What's your friends' feedback on working with Hertz?
I have heard nothing but good things
Okay.
from them. I'll have to look up and find out what they're doing now. It's been some time since I last looked, but they've been there for a little while, and it's they're still there, so that's a good thing.
Dan, maybe you could introduce them to Ashish so Ashish can name drop.
I don't know that they're that. You can name drop all you want, but I don't think it's going to help you. In this case.
Yeah, I think the way my Hertz interview has come, it's basically I was trying to network. It basically came out of nowhere. Okay. I networked with like 40, 50 people on LinkedIn who are in this kind of work stream and who are like, directors or VP level kind of folks, or maybe even higher.
Yep.
There was this one person who responded back from Hertz that he was willing to have a phone call with me. I sent him my introduction deck, and then he was like, that looks great. What kind of roles are you looking for? And then this role popped up when I looked at their career website, and I gave him this role. He passed on my introduction deck, not even my resume,
Awesome.
to the hiring
Wow.
managers, like the senior director and a VP. He gave me their name, and he told me that I've forwarded it to them, and then like gave them my name. That is all he told me.
Yeah.
And he gave me their names. I responded with a thank you note to him, and then I reached out to both the senior director and the VP via LinkedIn email with my resume and everything.
Perfect. Was that cold outreach or was it warm?
It was warm, yeah. And then I think within a day they responded back, and after their response, like within 2 hours of their response, I had the interview set up.
Awesome.
Great.
Perfect.
So it's going pretty well that way. The other thing I wanted to ask was, so I have this specs and I have the other one, which is this one. Which one is giving more of a executive look?
Can I
I'm
see
being
the
too
other one?
nitpicky. Sorry, what is that?
Can I see the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think number one.
This one?
Yeah. What do you think, Dan?
Agree. Mhm.
Okay, cool.
It's a bit more business. I think the other one's like, you look cool, but it's not
Yeah,
like,
I get that. Okay, cool. All right. So those were the things I wanted to do. The other thing was more, yeah, one last thing actually. So I do have a few questions that I have come up with,
Yep.
or like a list of things that they might ask. Okay, there are like 15 pointers here. For
Mhm.
some, I've already created the behavioral stories. For some, they might ask me stuff. Okay,
Okay.
so I have to create some content around. I have situations that I have to create the entire stories. Okay,
Mhm.
what I would like tomorrow is, and I'm guessing some of these are going to coincide with what you guys have also created as well. Okay, so what I would like is, sure, ask me those questions, but then when I'm answering, I want to be a little bit more prepped in terms of the kind of follow-up questions that they might ask
Okay.
when I'm giving them a response.
Got it.
Because I have seen interviews in two ways. One, people come, they ask a question, I give them a response, they note everything down, they move to the next question. They don't ask follow-ups. Then there are other kinds of questions where, like other kinds of interviews where they actually deep dive into two or three stories and they just ask like two or three questions and they deep dive with follow-ups and all, trying to understand all the context. I
Mhm.
don't know what way this one is going to go, like which way. So, but I want to be prepared. So for
Okay.
that reason, I think if you can, grill me a little bit on a couple of follow-ups with each question, I think that would be beneficial.
Got it. Let me write that down. We'll do a deep dive. We'll play off your response. We'll be a bit more harsh on it, like in terms of the gaps, as
Yeah.
well as if there's any holes in your reasoning or logic for your current responses, we'll definitely address that as well.
Yeah, I mean, that is what I want to, more than gaps, I think there are different perspectives when people hear the same story. So I
Mhm.
want like, a couple of perspectives already so that I know that, okay, these are the kind of things that somebody who has not heard my stories even once they hear it, are the things that they're thinking or talking about.
Yep.
And I'm guessing you've talked about this, and you're at a point in your career where I'm sure you have, but I'm going to ask this question anyways because not
Mhm.
everybody has. But as you are structuring your answers and things like that, you're using the STAR method or something to
Yeah,
that
yeah, I
effect.
do the star method for the most part.
Okay, I think and again, we can kind of grill that a little bit tomorrow, but when you're using the STAR method properly and appropriately, right, it will automatically lend itself to those follow-up questions to be asked, right?
Mhm.
Your situation, your task, your action, result, based on what that result is specifically, right? That should lead into whatever the next question is going to be. So you can almost kind of start thinking about how, as you're saying your result or what you did for it, how would you like to guide that conversation into what do you think that next logical question would be based on what the result is for your answer, if that makes sense, right? It's not always going to work, right? Because you're still having a conversation. But as you're thinking about your answers, if there's something you really want to kind of talk about, but it hasn't been directly asked, if you can weave that into your result,
So
that
if
might
I
lead you to.
understood that right, then what you're saying is leave them a nudge so that becomes the obvious follow-up question.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, you're having a conversation. That's what an interview is, right? It's a
Yeah.
conversation. Certainly, if your technical background and things like that is all there, and looking at your resume and whatever else, it seems like it is. It's going to be It's going to be behavioral. It's going to be culture fit. It's going to be all of those types of things. And so ultimately, it's just a conversation that you're having.
Yes,
Uh,
that is correct for the most part. Okay, cool. Now I have a list of like 15 based on the two job descriptions that I've kind of come up with.
Mhm.
I just have like the nudges for those. Tell me about a time when I've influenced multiple stakeholders.
Yep.
Follow up to that, or like a different question, but tell me about a time when I have been challenged by senior stakeholders or senior leadership team
Yep.
on a recommendation or something. Challenged by a team member or somebody who's at my level, not senior management. uh, Tell me about a time when you came up with a new idea or challenged the status quo. Tell me about a time when you failed,
Mhm.
a time when you received feedback. Are both these questions similar, or should I create like a different story? Like I have a story when I failed. I have it for that, but I don't have anything for received feedback. Should I create something else for that?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Because feedback could be good or bad, but we do want to highlight a potential. We don't want to give them red flags, you know what I mean? Like if it's integral to the role that you must have great um like data analysis skills, we don't want to flag your weakness there. It's
Mhm.
more so a weakness that you have already addressed in the past or you're in the process of addressing and you have concrete information that you can highlight, right? Let's say you had maybe some conflict resolution issues with the team, but then since then you've worked on it, and now you're able to effectively lead while giving great feedback, something like that.
Okay.
It really depends, and I would say it's better to have more examples simply because sometimes they won't go through the full range of behaviorals, but now you'll have a lot more ammunition to sort of move around so that it builds on your confidence as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. I'll try to come up with a couple then.
Mhm.
Then the next question was more around tell me about a time when I had to take data-driven decisions. Um, when I've optimized for revenue, when I've come up with cross-channel strategy. This is more for the Hertz tool, the cross-channel strategy one. The next one is also around that. Tell me about a time when you had to prioritize tasks and or resources. Then tell me about a time when you had to do resource allocation or come up with resource allocation requirements. Um, then tell me about a time when you came up with new revenue generation ideas. What is your leadership style? Tell me about a time when you had to give feedback to somebody who was less junior to you. What are your weaknesses and how do you overcome those?
Okay. So pretty standard, right, Dan? What do you think of those?
Yep. Nope. Pretty standard, I will say. As to Ignacio, what he was saying before here too, come up with multiple answers to the question, right? Because the question may not be asked exactly how you frame them there. If you have maybe
Mhm.
examples for each of these questions, and you can kind of pull from there to make it fit the question specifically, if you will. Again, you're trying to guide the conversation here.
Yeah.
So
Did our frameworks help you, Ashish? The ones that we sent?
Yeah.
Oh, I think Dan might be lagging a little bit.
Yeah.
Is Dan frozen for you?
Yes. Dan, are you able to hear us?
Have an answer.
Uh-oh.
No, I think is
I think he went.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'll take a look at the structures that you had sent out as well. Um, the the last thing I wanted to ask was by when do you think we can get the resume?
How about before tomorrow's session?
Do you have like a draft for me to look at?
Yeah, we have a draft. Tim was working on it. I think his interpretation is a bit, in my personal opinion, it was a bit too hands off. Like he omitted some of the technicals that I wanted you to have and to keep in. He likes it a bit more concise, but I think we're missing out on a lot of context if we go with his version. I can definitely send it to you, so that you have both.
Yeah, I mean, if you can send something to me, because the thing is, I also want to send out some applications today and tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I can continue with my current version, that's fine. But if you have something that I can actually use,
Okay.
because I also might want to refine that a little bit.
Yes.
So, but if I like the format, and for the most part, if I think it's like ready from my side, at least, if I feel okay,
Got it.
I can use that. Otherwise, I can continue with the old one, and we can do it like a day later or something. That's okay.
Ignacio, you talked about kind of some of those revisions and things like that in terms of why you're making them, taking off that side column and things like that. We've been through all that.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, we've been through all that. Tim just drafted an initial copy. I'll send out what we have today, Ashish.
Okay.
But yeah, if you know what, I'll probably just rush something as well, just so that you can have a more cohesive version.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. I just want to take a look at it and see if I can start using.
Of course.
It. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I'll send it.
Because the other thing is, I also want to make sure that resume is getting picked by people.
Yeah.
Because I know that the current one does a reasonable job.
Yeah. That is
when
true.
I'm doing like direct, like when I'm reaching out to people directly. So yeah, that was something on my mind. The last thing for tomorrow, when do you guys want to set up the session?
I'm available, Dan. It really depends on you as well. If you don't have availability on Sundays, I completely understand. I could just work off the question list that we've prepared, and then that we're going to be modifying for tomorrow.
Yeah, I have to. I gotta kind of see when I'm free. I don't have that right in front of me right now. I mean, Ashish, when are you free? When works best for you?
I think I gave the entire afternoon open because I have to work through some of the things, like some of the stories I have to create, right? And so
how's 4 p.m. Eastern? Dan, what's your time zone? Central, right?
I'm Central, so 3 p.m. for me.
Yeah, does 3 p.m. work for you?
I might be able to make that work. I'm gonna jot that down here, and then I'll shoot you an email here and let you know for sure. But
no problem.
Ashish, if that works for you, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I gave him the second half of the day tomorrow because I want to focus on doing the stories and everything rest of the day and tomorrow morning, so that I'm ready for that session. Otherwise, I don't want to go into it like half baked or something. So
yeah.
Yep.
100%.
Okay. Yeah. I will check on some things, and I will let you know, Ignacio.
Got it. I think you cut out earlier. Did you want to finish your thoughts on that? I think we saw you like freeze up.
Yes, I my camera was there, but my audio was still intact. At least I could hear you all. I don't remember what I was saying. I'm sure it was brilliant and genius and life changing here, but I think you're on the right track. There's nothing here that I've seen so far that gives me worry, concern, anything like that. You're doing all the right things. You're doing the right feedback mechanisms and follow up and all those things. You're asking the right questions about even the small things, the little things like the books and the lighting and all those other things too. So I think you're on the right track, and really it's a matter of ultimately whatever opportunities and things like that you do have, narrowing it down and what works for you, right? You mentioned autonomy to work kind of independently and things like that a couple different times. It sounds like that's important to you, right? And all those things are going to come down to culture fit and whatever else with these companies and organizations. So, but you're doing all the right things. So we're just going to help you get you over that hump.
Yeah, and just some commentary on the 15 behaviorals that you prepared, Ashish.
Mhm.
Very similar to what we had. I think ours is actually a little bit more difficult because we're trying to make you recall very specific scenarios that you might have had in the past. Like, let me give you an example. Like, let's say it's, oh shoot, where's my question list? 1 second. Let's say it's about cross-functional leadership. A sample question would be like, can you provide an example of a complex multi-stakeholder project that you led, and how did you sort of ensure alignment across teams like data science, marketing, finance, etc.? So I feel like it's a little bit more targeted towards the role, more targeted towards your experience as well. So I think we took it a little bit further than what you were used to, but definitely we can also throw in the more traditional behavioral questions if you prefer.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, like, the way you're framing it, that's perfectly fine, because they don't ask these questions directly, but those are like the small nudges at the end of the day, where like
Yeah.
what kind of story in my mind I have to, say for those kind of questions. So I think it's good for me to familiarize myself with that kind of questioning structure also, because I have to come up with, as you are talking about, like, this is the question, or rather when you're narrating the question to me, during that time plus maybe a couple seconds, I should be at a point in my mind where I know which story I'm going to tell.
Perfect.
So when you go through something like that, I think that is going to help. So we can go with that structure.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's perfectly okay, because that's how usually companies would ask questions.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Excited for tomorrow then.
Yeah, there's a lot of work before that. Okay. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else.
Awesome. Can I just wrap up with a quick summary of some of the notes that we took?
Yeah.
Dan and I just took some notes on a document here, but basically to help you with some more follow-up questions, right? Like crafting questions to help you assess fit, as well as, if we do ask you a question, you give a response, but we want more, we'll go a little bit more into detail, right? And then
So that basically would give me, so to Dan's point,
Mhm.
I can leave a nudge when I'm presenting the story so that you ask that obvious follow-up question that I wanted to ask, because I have an answer prepared for it.
Okay.
I'll try to do the best I can for that. But
Yeah.
the other perspective that I was looking for is, if you are hearing my stories for the first time,
Mhm.
being from a completely different industry, completely different background, what is the first thought that comes to your mind?
Okay.
Because that is the kind of question that I might expect from them. Because
Perfect.
they're, at the end of the day, not from my industry.
Got it.
So I want to make sure that, I have some variety of those kind of follow-ups there.
Yep. And Dan and I will be completely honest with you in terms of feedback. We're not just gonna
Yeah.
you up. We're gonna be, tough love.